exciting thing I do every year is and I get excited when I come to the Philippines. The Philippines is an amazing country. This year, I've been here, including this trip, 6 weeks of my year. And I always say this every time I come back, because as I travel through Asia, there is no other country in Asia that all the people speak English. So I'm the most comfortable when I come here. So what a great honor and privilege it is to be here with you today. Boy, have we come a long way. I just heard my son, and by the way, I'm proud of this. I remember arriving 7 years ago with my little Sean. He was a 28-year-old kid who had succeeded back home. And I said to him, why don't you come with me on your first trip to the Philippines? And we sent him here, and he trained for about, 3 or 6 months. Started with 3 months, and then he stayed an extra 3 months. And he was here for 6 months. And it was you, the Filipino people, who taught him the business. So I'm very, very proud, and I thank you, Sean, for taking over and helping me. By the way, I'm here 6 weeks a year. This guy's here for 3 to 4 months a year. So our commitment to you, the Philippines, is that big. Because the Philippines, guess what, people, is lifestyle's #1 market. Everybody has a story of their life, and every story is unique. What I'm about to do is share a little bit of my story with you. My story, let's go back to the early days when I was growing up. I grew up in Toronto, Canada. Everyone know where Canada is? It's cold there this time of year. Anyways, I grew up in Toronto, Canada, average, middle-class family. Grew up, went to school, went to university, and I met the love of my life, what I call my high school sweetheart. And all through high school, I was so proud to have a girlfriend. And then, after 8 years of going steady and madly in love, when I was 25, I got married. The best part of getting married was the arrival of our first child, Sean. And then number 2 came. That was really exciting. 2 children. But life's a journey. And life holds the unknown for us. And things happen in life that you never expect. And it's never a straight line. And the reason why it isn't a straight line, we are thrown curves, because I guess I figured out because we learn from them. We learn from our experiences. And some of them are not so good, and some of them are great. And life was great for me. Life was just unbelievable. I was so happy. And then my wife developed breast cancer. And oh wow. For 2.5 years, she suffered. She went through chemotherapy, radiation, and unfortunately, I was 30 years old, 33, and she passed away. Here I was, left with 2 children, 5 and 3. And to be quite honest with you, I was a great parent, but up until that day, I had never changed a diaper. Boy, did I learn. I learned how to change diapers, how to put kids to bed, how to bathe kids, and last but not least, how to dress them. I had an experience of my lifetime. It was a tough experience. It was a real tough experience because I was a single parent back in the 80s. And being a single parent back in the 80s was very, very unusual because nowadays people separate and go their own way. Back then, nobody separated. More like the Philippines, you know, you stay married for life the way it's supposed to be. Anyways, life journey was pretty incredible. And I was pretty emotionally distraught for the first year. And then, approximately a year and a half after, I got a call from my sister-in-law. My sister-in-law, she lived in Atlanta, Georgia. I live in Toronto, and Atlanta, Georgia is in the United States. It's about 3,000 kilometers from my home. It would be a 3-hour plane ride. Not conceivable just to go over just like that because it's quite a distance away. And she said to me, I just met the most phenomenal man, and he has something that I want you to see. I think it's really, really important that you speak to this man. And tomorrow, in your city, this gentleman's coming to your city, and he will be speaking to you and telling you about something that I want you to hear. So it was at a local hotel in my city, and I went. It was 7 o'clock, and there was about 8 other people in the room. I didn't know exactly what I was going to, but I trusted my sister-in-law. And then it started. A gentleman came out. He was an older gentleman, quite sincere, quite extraordinary. And what he was doing is he was telling us about a new phenomenon that had just come out. Back in the 80s, we didn't have anything called bottled water, because all we had was tap water. You turned on your tap and you got a glass of water and you drank it. That's how we did it. But in our water, there's minerals. The governments all throughout the world put chlorine in our water. Our water, our drinking water, was not pure. We didn't know in the 80s about purified water. We didn't understand. But when you tasted a glass of water that was purified, it was no taste. And that's the way water should be. And what had happened in the 80s was this company invented the water filter. And it was quite simple. You attach this water filter to a tap, and water poured out of your spout, and it came out, but because of the manufacturing of the cylinder, it had carbon in it. And carbon takes away all minerals, and it had a little bit of gold also. But that's not as important how it worked, but it was a phenomenon. It was water. And then the guy went to the blackboard, and then he started explaining what he's here for. I thought it was the water filter, but he wanted to explain something called the marketing plan. Wow, I didn't understand what he was talking about, but I soon understood very, very quickly. He was talking about network marketing. And this gentleman absolutely surprised me. He asked one question that caught my attention. And it wasn't until he asked the question, how many people, and there was only about 9 of us in that room, how many people would prefer to earn 1% of 100 people rather than 100% of yourself? Obviously, 1% of 100 people is very, very attractive. And he said, we have a system. We have a way in which you can earn money on many, many people. And it's called network marketing. Then he went to the blackboard and he started writing down furiously. Well, there's you, and does anyone in this room know 5 people? Ah, we all know 5 people. Well, if you know 5 people, get them to know, every one of them know 5 people. And he started writing circles. And I didn't realize circles were people. And 5 people, and you guys have seen this before. And then he said, well then, those 5 people who you just brought in, they bring in 5 more people. So now you got 5 people, and 5 and 5 is 25. And then he said to me, and then 25? Then he's bringing 5 people. And 25 times 5, 125. Wow. And then he said, you should then bring in 5 people. That's 625. And then he said again, you should then bring in 5 people. That's 3,125. And he said, right now, you've got 4,000 people working for you, all making you money. And I was scratching my head. I had no clue what he was talking about. However, he gave me the brochure, the booklet. I went home, and boy, did I get excited. 2 nights I didn't sleep. I was counting my money. I was excited. I was elated. Here was my opportunity. This was it. My friends, that was my introduction to network marketing. I joined as a distributor. Now I'm a distributor. In the first 6 months of my distribution, I became the lead distributor in Canada. I was making a phenomenal amount of money, my friends. I don't want to go into too much of how my real estate, or I'm sorry, my MLM career went, but I was very successful. And because of my success, I had an opportunity to travel. And I was traveling only in those days to bring in new people, to get them into the organization, to help them share my experience, my water filter. This was my time, and I was young and excited. And I remember when I traveled, the excitement I felt was a different one. It was an uplifting experience because I was uplifting other people, and it was quite extraordinary. But on my travels, I remember going to St. Louis, Missouri. And I went to St. Louis, Missouri, again, a couple hours from my home by plane, and I went there.